Hello guys, welcome to Code Android. In this video we are going to implement the runtime permission. So the runtime permission was introduced in Marshmallow, that is Android 6.0. Earlier we don't have the runtime permission. You just take the permission in a manifest file and it is all automatically provided to you. But from Marshmallow, for critical permissions, and Google Android has recommended that you should take the permission from the user for critical permissions like writing on a SD card, checking, recording audio or making a call. These are the examples of a critical permission. So to implement the runtime permission, uh, we have to first declare a permission in a manifest file. So here you can see I have already declared the permission, that is user's permission for writing on external storage. So for this we will going to implement the runtime permission. So let's start. So here is a very constant I have declared. This is the permission request code which we have to provide while requesting for the runtime permission. So for implementing the runtime permission, first we have to check whether the device runs on Marshmallow or above versions of Android or not. If it is working on Marshmallow and above, then we have to check whether we have a permission already granted or not, because we can't ask a permission every time. So to check the runtime permission, you have to check it on the start of the activity. So the better method is on start to check the runtime permission, because if you check it on start and you don't have a permission, you can request the permission and you can hold on to the functionality which requires that permission. So we have here overridden the on start method, and we will going to uh, implement the runtime permission check from here. So to check the runtime permission, we are going to implement a method or a function which checks whether the device is on Android 6.0 or above or not. So for that we are going to have a method called is permission required. In this method we are going to check whether the device runs on Marshmallow or not. So for that we are going to use the build class of Android, and we will check whether it is Marshmallow or not. So here M is the Marshmallow, so we are checking whether the device runs on Marshmallow or not, Marshmallow and above or not. If it is, then we have to check again whether the permission is required or not, like whether we already have a permission for that functionality or not. So for that we are going to implement a check permission which checks whether the permission is already granted or not. So let's implement a check permission method. So in this method we are going to have a result integer. We are using context compat class of Android to check whether a permission is there or not. So we are checking self permission, and we have to provide the application context here. So we are giving it, and we have to provide the what permission we are checking. So here we have to provide the application context and then the permission which we are required. So for that we have to check manifest class of Android, and we will be checking the write external storage permission. So this is the check, and here we will get the result. So we will return just whether we have the permission or not. So we will just check result against the granted permission, granted or not. So for that we have to here declare it as a boolean return type. So this is, we have checked the method with the runtime permission. So now let's check within our own class whether we have a permission or not. For that required checks whether the permission is there or not already with us, and if we don't have the permission then we will have to request the permission. So for that we will create another method which will be request permission. This method will request for the permission, and that request will be, we are using activity compat class to request for the permission. This, in activity compat class we have a request permission method. As you can see, it requires the activity and the arrays of permissions that you want. So for that, for the activity we will provide this, the context, and then we will be having an array of, and here we will be writing write external storage of a manifest class. So you can have a multiple permissions here, so you can request multiple permission at a time. And then the third parameter is the request code, which I have already declared here. So this is the permission request code which we'll have to send. So whenever we will receive the permission, we have to check whether this permission code is there or not. So if it is there, then the granted permission is against this request. So this is the request permission, so we will use it here where we have checked we don't have a permission. So we can just request the permission here. So this is our all request permission checks has been done. We have a first check whether we device runs on a marshmallow and above or not. Then we have checked whether we have a write external permission or not, and then when we don't have, then we have requested that permission. So now this is the part where we are requesting the permission. Now we will implement the res result method where we will get the status of the requested permission, whether it is granted or not. And for that we will implement the on request permission result method. It provides three parameters to us, that is request code which we have provided while requesting, the permission list, which are the permissions are there and whether they are granted or not. So let's clear this out and implement our code. So here we gonna use the permission code method with request code, that is when the request code is the permission code which we have sent, then we have to check whether the permission is granted or not. So that uh, so first we have to check whether grant result is not empty, right? If it is not empty, then we will check whether we have a permission granted or not. So since we have implemented only one permission, so permission granted. If it is since we have only requested for one permission, the permission grant will have only one result in it. So we will be checking whether at the 0th place we have that permission granted or not. So if it is shows that it is a granted permission, this checks is whether the permission has been granted or not. If it is, then we will probably show a toast. So let's create a method to show the toast so that we can use it whenever we want. So this method will only take the message and it has the context, and we will only going to show the message in a toast form. So here we will be using toast dot length, we are keeping it long and we're just showing it. So here we'll just display toast with a message permission granted, and else if it is not granted, then show toast permission denied. So this is our code for implementing the runtime permission. As you can see, we just only have to check with the permission in on start, and then the flow will start and we will be prompted with the permission request. If we deny, we will get the permission denied message. If it we grant, we'll get the permission grant message. So let's run this application. I have already started my emulator. So let's run on the emulator the application and check. So here you can see the application started, and on start it has requested for the permission. So first we will deny the permission and see what happens. So we have a toast message saying that permission has been denied. So let's start the application again and checks whether it asks for the permissions or not. So again we have asked for the permissions. Again we can, this time we will allow. So let's see what happens. We got the message toast that permission is granted. So let's start and again checks whether the permission pops up open or not. No, it's not, because we have already re requested the permission and permission has been granted. So it will not show you again. So this is the tutorial of our runtime permissions. Hope you like it.